talk. I think there are a lot of new students from Monday class who first time come to Mangala Vihara and might not know who is the MVDF religious advisor, which is Bhante Cakkapala. So I'll give a brief introduction of him. Bhante was born in Myanmar in 1980 and was ordained as a monk at the age of 12 and obtained his Dhammacharya, which means Dhamma teacher, degree when he was 22 years old. He graduated with the master degree from Kelaniya University in Sri Lanka in the year 2008. And Bhante was one of the founding members of Dhamma School Foundation, which is currently the biggest religious organization in Myanmar. And Bhante has been teaching Buddhism to various classes in Singapore since 2012. So tonight's topics for the talk is compassion in daily life. So for those after the talk, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and we'll pass the mic to you. Or if you are too shy to ask questions, then you can send your questions to this number on the board, either SMS or WhatsApp, but the questions must be related to the topic. Right? So if you send a question that doesn't relate to the topic, it might not be answered, because we have to priority given to those questions that related to tonight's talk. So kindly please put all your mobiles to silent mode. Right? Thank you.
Okay, good evening everyone. So let's start our Dhamma Talk by reciting the Modata 3 times. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening everyone. Can you increase the volume? Mr. Chan? Increase it. Very soft. Good evening everyone. Today, compassion in daily life. So the word compassion is very popular and we are using all the time, especially in Buddhism. So we should understand what is compassion and how we can apply compassion in our daily life. So I think this topic will be very useful in your practice, to put into practice all the teachings of the Buddha. So compassion is one of the 4 sublime states. So 4 sublime states will be taught in this class by one of the teachers. So I think my Dhamma Talk is just a part of it. And also, I will explain to apply this teaching in our daily life. While I'm talking, if you have a question, just raise your hand, right? Not just after Dhamma Talk. Anytime when you have a question, right away you just raise your hand. So then only we will be able to clarify your doubt at once. Later you will forget, right? So compassion is one of the 4 sublime states. So many of you may know these four. Number one, loving kindness. In Bali, we call it metta. Number two, compassion, karuna. So this is the topic that we are going to explain tonight. And third one is altruistic joy, mudita. And the fourth one is equanimity, upekkha. So these are called four sublime states. So tonight, I will explain number two. But number two, if I just explain number two, it's not enough. So these four are linking each other. These four are linking each other. If you explain compassion, you must know the meaning of loving kindness, and especially equanimity, the last one. So compassion and equanimity are linking. So I will explain the reason why. I think that when you want to apply teachings of the Buddha, you must understand what is it, right? What is teachings of the Buddha? So I want to briefly explain the characteristics of four sublime states. Number one, metta or loving kindness embraces all living beings. So they may be small or great. They will be living far or near. They may be living on the earth, in the water, or in the air. So wherever they may live, so metta or loving kindness embrace. So that means if we apply loving kindness, normally just simply use love, right? Normally if we use love, so it can confuse with the normal love. For that reason, we translate the word loving kindness. So loving kindness means pure love, not connected with the attachment, pure love. So actually, in Pali Canon, in the many suttas, the Buddha say the word metta. I think many of you know that Karaniya Metta Sutta, right? So we have Karaniya Metta Sutta. So even though the Buddha used the word Karaniya, metta, it indicates four, right? These four sublime states. So that means the moment we are talking, metta, metta, metta. So that means these four sublime states. So you have to understand in that way. So we can, for that reason, we can understand that these four sublime states are four in one. You cannot, if you want to say metta, so that means we have to include all the four. Number two, karuna or compassion embraces those who are suffering, those who are in trouble. So if you see the people who are suffering mentally or physically, so you try to help them. So that is compassion. So if you look at this one, compassion look for the people who are in trouble, who are in suffering. If you see anyone, it can be anyone. Your parents, your family members, and also outsiders, anyone. It can be human beings, it can be animals, all sentient beings. So for those who are suffering, right? Number three, mudita embraces those who are prosperous, those who are happy, those who are successful. So sometimes if we see people who are successful, who are rich, who are prosperous, we feel jealousy. So if we have mudita, we don't have any jealousy in our mind. We just congratulate their success. So we are very happy for their prosperity. So here, mudita embrace those who are successful, those who are prosperous, those who are rich. So here, compassion or karuna embrace those who are in suffering, those who are poor, those who are in trouble. So here, mudita embrace those who are successful, prosperous, happy. So here, if you look at compassion and mudita, it look at outside. You do not look at yourself, right? Number 4 is very important. Upekkha. Upekkha look at yourself. That's very important. Number 1, metta look at everyone. If you see successful people or the people who are in failure, poor or rich, so that means metta or loving kindness embrace, look at everyone. It covers everyone, including you. But compassion, karuna look at those who are suffering, those who are in trouble. You're trying to help them. That is compassion. So mudita or altruistic joy look at those people who are successful, those people who are rich, prosperous. So you congratulate. You feel very happy to see their success, their prosperity, their richness. So that means the compassion, altruistic joy, or karuna or mudita look at outside. But here, upekkha look at yourself. So I will explain the reason why. Sometimes, when we see the people who are suffering physically or mentally, we try to help them, right? So that means we look at them, we take care of them. So we look at outside, but sometimes there is a condition that you are out of reach. So the situation is out of your hand, right? Out of your reach. So that means for those times, we feel very sorry. We cannot take it. We have a sorrow in our mind, thinking that you cannot help them. So that means, according to Buddhism, pity, sorrow, sorry, all these are negative mental state. They are not healthy mind. So for that reason, in those times, if the situation is out of your reach, if you cannot help them anymore, then you look at yourself. Take care of yourself. So that means upekkha or equanimity. That's very important. Very important. Actually, according to Buddhist teachings, self-sacrifice is not encouraged. Self-sacrifice is not encouraged. So the reason is when the Buddha said kusala means wholesome deed or good things, it must have 3 criteria. Number 1, it shouldn't harm to yourself. Number 1. It shouldn't harm to others. Number 2. And number 3, it shouldn't harm yourself and others. It shouldn't harm both. So in the Pali Canon, the Buddha clearly said that when the Buddha want to talk a good things or a good deed, 3 characteristics. In Ambalatika, Raulavara Soda, and many other sodas. So the Buddha mentioned 3 characteristics. It shouldn't harm yourself, it shouldn't harm others, and it shouldn't harm both. So then only it will be a good deed or wholesome deed. Suppose you are saving many people in the earthquake area. So you see that people are suffering. For that reason, you go there and you yourself trying to rescue them, trying to save them. So that is the art of compassion. Very beautiful. But you know that when you go and save a person, you will die. According to Buddhism, you have to practice equanimity or upekkha. You have to look at yourself. Situation is out of your. If you go and rescue a person there, then you will die. So that means it is not good according to Buddhism. And the 3 criteria, right? You shouldn't harm yourself. You shouldn't harm others. You shouldn't harm both. So that means by going there, you'll be able to save a person's life, but you will die. How will you do? You have to decide whether you're going there or you're going to save. Then if you save that person, you will die. If you cannot save that person, you will escape from dying. That person will die. So what is your choice? That means if you rescue a person's life, you will die. So that means you are harming yourself. It is not a good deed. It's not a good deed according to Buddhism. Normally, we normally say that self-sacrifice, right? We're trying to sacrifice ourselves. Just like that, sometimes, we try to help many people, but it creates a lot of problem in your business, in your job. So that means you are harming yourself. Such one also not good. For that reason, equanimity is very important. Equanimity or upekkha embraces all living beings without making any discriminations. So that means equanimity, look at yourself. So if you know that you will be stay alive by helping other people, then you can do so. But if you think that by rescuing other living beings, you will be killed by yourself, then you have to control your mind not to do that. This is out of your reach, right? This is out of reach. For that reason, these forces are connected each other. So if you are talking about loving kindness, if you are talking about metta, it includes everyone. So these 4 mental states cannot be separated. But anyway, today I will trying to explain more detail about compassion to apply in your daily life. So these four sublime states are popularly known as Brahma Vihara. Brahma Vihara in Bali, in English is a sublime state, sublime living or noble living. So if you are practicing these 4 Brahma Vihara, where your life is sublime and noble. If you can live according to these 4 sublime states, so your life will be very meaningful and sublime. For that reason, it is called Brahma Vihara. So these 4 are popularly known as the Brahma Vihara. Another one is the divine dwellings. So they are also defined as a divine dwelling. Brahma Vihara, the Pali is the same, but different definition. Because they are mental dwelling of the Brahma deities in the Brahma world. So actually, according to Buddhist cosmology, we have 6 heavenly realms, and then later you have to learn. We have 6 heavenly realms, so they can enjoy onto the sensual pleasures with their senses. 6 heavenly realms. About the 6 heavenly realms, we have 20 Brahma deities, 20 Brahma realms. They do not enjoy sensual pleasures with their senses, so they just enjoy mental peace, the bliss of mind, the bliss of meditation. So, if you are practicing 4 sublime states, if you are practicing loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, so you are living like a Brahma deities. You are look like devas. You are look like devas. The reason is the Brahma deities are living with these 4 sublime states. For that reason, if you are practicing these 4 sublime states, so you are like a deva. Not normal deva, the Brahma deva is higher than normal deva, right? Higher than normal deva. For that reason, in the teachings of the Buddha, so the practicing 4 sublime states is higher than doing dana, is higher than keeping precept, is higher than dana, giving, is higher than sila, moral contact. Because this is related to mental state. It is under meditation, mental cultivation. For that reason, if you can practice 4 sublime states, so that means your mind is very noble, you look like Brahma deities, and your will life will be sublime and noble. So this is the meaning of 4 sublime state. So yeah, what I want to point out is compassion is very important and very pure and very sublime. So if you can practice real compassion in your daily life, and your will life will be noble and sublime. For that reason, today I will explain the meaning of compassion according to Buddhist teachings. In Abhidhamma and commentary use the word appamana to talk about all these 4. So appamana means the immeasurable or unlimited. So when you practice these 4 sublime states, you don't have to limit people. You don't have to limit sentient beings. So you have to develop and you have to cultivate those sublime states without any limit. For that reason, so these 4 are called the immeasurable. For those who are learning Abhidhamma, you will know all these one, right? So I think later part of this Monday classes, so you will have to learn these 4. So one of the teacher will explain, right? Karaniya Metta Sutta, this is the most famous Sutta that talk about loving kindness, Buddhist life, loving kindness of Buddhist life. So in that Sutta, the Buddha said that Madayata Niyam Buddha Mayusa Eka Buddha Manurake Eombi Sapa Buddhesu Manasam Bhavaye Abharimana. So this is a Karaniya Metta Sutta is very famous for Buddhist. So in our temple, we are always chanting. Every day we are chanting this Sutta. So the reason is we radiate loving kind. We develop love and compassion to all sentient beings. And for that reason, we are chanting this Sutta. So this verse is one of them. Like a mother who loves her only one son, unlimited love should be developed to all sentient beings. So when you are practicing love, including compassion, you don't have to limit to those who you like. You have to practice loving kindness and compassion, everyone. You don't have to limit. So when you are practicing loving compassion to sentient beings, to any sentient beings, no limit, you don't have to limit. So I don't want to cultivate my love to that fellow, or to that guy, or to that woman. You don't have to limit. So you have to practice loving compassion to all sentient beings, whether you like or you don't like, whether poor or rich, whether educated or non-educated, uneducated. You don't have to discriminate. So you have to include all sentient beings to practice loving compassion. So for that reason, it is called appamana. Appamana is unlimited love, right? You don't have to limit your love and compassion only to those people, right? Suppose when you are helping other people, you don't have to limit. Sometimes we try to limit the people, right? So you will not share what you have with other people who you do not like. So your love is limited. But here, according to Buddhism, metta or loving kindness shouldn't have limitation. So you have to extend your love and compassion to all sentient beings. So I think that is very important. So here, what I want to point out here is a 4 sublime states: metta or loving kindness, karuna or compassion, mudita or altruistic joy, or equanimity, upekha or equanimity. So these 4 sublime states have to practice without limit. So a mother left her only one son, just like a mother left her only one son. So you have to love, and you must have a compassion toward all sentient beings. So they are connected. We can even say that. So is it 4 in 1, right? 4 in 1. For that reason, I want to point out one thing. In Theravada, we normally use the word metta, loving kindness. So metta is very popular in Theravada Buddhism. Compassion, karuna, is popular in Mahayana. For that reason, Mahayanas are more compassionate than Theravada. So they are very generous. So if you look at, I think if you observe, you will clearly see that. So they are very compassionate. They're willing to share what they have. And their mind is very more, inclined to compassion. So actually, it is very important to understand, loving kindness or compassion. So it is, I think it's quite clear that in Theravada Buddhism, we normally say metta. And we normally say that we develop or we radiate loving kindness. And we do not say we radiate compassion. Actually, when we say we radiate loving kindness, we develop loving kindness. So that means not only metta, it includes compassion and also altruistic joy, even equanimity. That's very important. Metta is 4 in 1. So when you talk about metta, so that means you have to understand not only one word, including compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity. Okay. Oh, okay, very good. Metta or loving kindness embrace all, right? You love all sentient beings. You love all sentient beings, no discrimination. Because of that, when you see those who are suffering, you have compassion. Because of metta or loving kindness, compassion arises, and you try to help them. Then you love all sentient beings. You love everyone. You have a metta, and if you see the people who are successful, who are very rich, and you feel very happy, you join. You have a joy for them, because you have a metta or loving kindness. So that means metta is very important. Because of metta, you have altruistic joy in your mind, and you are happy in your mind. If you don't have a metta, you don't have a happiness. If you see those who are very rich, and you will have a jealousy in your mind. Because in your mind, you have metta or loving kindness. For that reason, when you see people who are very famous, you feel very happy. You share happiness with them. But if you don't have metta or loving kindness, you cannot appreciate their success, their fame. And you have a jealousy in your mind. You are not happy for that. So I think metta is very important. Then your metta or loving kindness include yourself as well. You love yourself. For that reason, you are helping the people who are suffering. Even you sacrifice your life. So that means if you die, that means you do not love yourself. You don't have a metta or loving kindness to yourself. For that reason, as you love yourself, you're trying to control your mind, and you're trying to evaluate the time and situation to stop. For that reason, metta is very important. This is the key point. Under the metta or loving kindness, we have a compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity. Three things. Compassion look at others, those who are suffering. Mudita or altruistic joy look at outside, the people who are famous, who are rich. Equanimity look at yourself. That you know the time to stop. Sometimes you try to help your friend. You try your best, but the situation is out of your reach. You cannot continue to help them. Then you know the time. So this is the time to stop, because you love yourself. You have to look at yourself. So for that reason, these four are linking each other. Is it? Okay. Sorry? Okay. Yeah, later I will do that. Thank you so much. Later I will do that. Because now I just introduction or the meaning of compassion. So what I want to say is today my topic is compassion, but this compassion or karuna should be connect to the other three as well. Right? I will come to that later. Thank you. Yeah. Any question? Okay, so here, Theravada seems to place more emphasis on loving kindness or metta. Mahayana school emphasizes compassion. Actually here, in the Pali Canon, especially in the commentaries, not Pali Canon, in the commentaries. So we have the word Mahakarunika. Mahakarunika means the person who have a great compassion. So the name of the Buddha, actually another name for Buddha is Mahakarunika. Mahakarunika. So the Buddha has great compassion toward all sentient beings. So here, in fact, all four sublime states are only different aspects of a single energy. It does not really matter where you start. For that reason, I say that this is a single energy. So all the four originated metta or love. Because you love other, for that reason you have compassion. For that reason you have altruistic joy. And for that reason you have equanimity. If there is a difference between metta and karuna, between loving kindness and compassion, then it is only terminology. Only terminology. There's no difference. Actually, Mahayana, they normally use the word compassion in English. Theravada, they use the word metta or loving kindness. They also use compassion, but compassion is just a part of loving kindness. So, for that reason, when a Mahayana say compassion, that means he is referring to four sublime states, not only karuna. And he or she also referring to metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, these four. So you have to understand in that way. So the reason is, so when you listen to Dalai Lama Dhamma Talk, in YouTube there are a lot of Dhamma Talks spoken by Dalai Lama, and they will use the word compassion. So if you see the word compassion, don't understand as a karuna. Actually, they are indicating four sublime states. Four sublime states. That is very important. When they are using the word compassion, that means not karuna in Theravada Buddhism. So that means they are indicating four sublime states. So later I will come to that. For that reason, Dr. Rewata Dhamma is a Theravada scholar monk from Myanmar, and he lived in England, and he have a lot of connection with the Mahayana, both Mahayana and Theravada schools. For that reason, he understands that, and he said this one: if there is a difference, that then it is only terminology. So that means as a Theravada, you might see the word metta or loving kindness. So if I say the word metta, so that means I am referring to four sublime states. Not only metta, it also compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, right? But if Mahayana say compassion, so that means it includes four sublime states. That is very important to understand. Otherwise, you will confuse. The same basic energy of caring and open-heartedness is understood by the word metta among the Thetavadas and by the word karuna or compassion in Mahayana sakhas. That's very important. I think many of you are practicing Theravada and Mahayana. I believe that. And don't confuse. So if you hear the word compassion in Mahayana, they are indicating four sublime states. But in Theravada, if you hear the word compassion, that means we refer only one, karuna, right? But if you hear the word metta, it includes everything. Metta look at everyone. outside and inside. Karuna and mudita, compassion and altruistic joy, look at outside. Equanimity, look at inside. Look at yourself. Okay, so let's go in detail. The word compassion in English. The etymology of compassion is in Latin. It means co-suffering. Co-suffering. When you see the people, your mother is suffering, and you suffer. That is the terminology. If your children is suffering, you suffer. That is terminology. But actually, Wikipedia explains a beautiful way. Compassion is the response to the suffering of others that motivate a desire to help. I think that is very beautiful explanation. The literal meaning is co-suffering. If you see the people who are suffering, if you suffer in your mind, it's not real compassion in Buddhism. It's not real compassion in Buddhism. Compassion is very pure. Even though you see the people who are a lot of problem, a lot of difficulty, even though they are suffering with the most serious diseases like a cancer, you are not suffering. But you're trying to help them as much as you can. If you cannot help them, you stop it and you look at yourself. That is my limit. That is all I can do for them. So that is called equanimity. Okay? So according to English word compassion, according to the root of the word, co-suffering. Actually, it is not in accordance with Buddhist teaching. I just want to highlight. But if you look at the explanation, it's in accordance with the Buddhism. Compassion is the response to the suffering of others that motivate a desire to help. When you see the people who are suffering, and there is a desire to help them, and you're trying to help them, but you don't have any suffering, you don't have any sorrow, you don't have any lamentation in your mind, just pure love. Because of love or metta, you're trying to help them. If you cannot help them, and you know your limit, you look at yourself. Oh, that is all I can do. Then you stop it, and you're trying to balance your mind. That is called equanimity. Equanimous mind. This is the meaning of compassion in English. But let's look at the definition of the word compassion in Buddhism. So this is the definition of the word karuna or compassion in Buddhism. When there is suffering in others, it causes good people's hearts to be moved. Thus, it is compassion. I think this is a Visuddhimagga. A Visuddhimagga is very important text in Buddhism. So this is the definition of the word compassion in Buddhism. When you see the people who are suffering, your mind is moved. Your mind is shaking. Because of that, you are willing to help them. That is called compassion. When you see a person has a depression, and your mind is moved, and your mind is shaken, so you are ready to help them. If you see earthquake, or if you see hurricane, and if you see a disaster in one place, So your mind is moved. Your mind is moved. You're ready to help them. That is compassion. So you look at outside. You look at the people who are suffering. You look at enemies who are suffering. Then your mind is moved. Then your compassion arises in your mind. Then you're trying to help them. But sometimes you cannot please everyone. You cannot fulfill their need. Then you look at yourself. That is my limit. That is called equanimity or upekkha. So compassion have to control by equanimity. So actually equanimity is another name for mindfulness and wisdom. Mindfulness and wisdom. So another name for equanimity, another name for upekkha is mindfulness and wisdom. You are mindful, you are fully mindful that you know your limit. Then you decide. That is wisdom. So you know your limit. That is thing that you can help them. Suppose you are a mother, so you are trying to show the way to your children, but they do not listen to you. How will you feel? You're very angry to them. So that means you don't have your equanimity. So you know that if your children are doing something, they will get into trouble. For that reason, you're trying to prevent them not to do that. Because you left them. Because of compassion, you're trying to prevent them not to do that. But your children does not listen. Then you feel very angry. So that means you do not look at yourself. That is your limit. That's all you can do for your children. So the real compassion does not harm yourself, right? So if sometime compassion came, in this kind of manner, sometimes you feel very pity. I will come to that example later. So what I want to say is, even you see that your children are suffering, then you try to help them. But there is the time that you cannot do more than you think. So that is my limit. That's all I can do. Then you stop it, and there's no anger in your mind. There's no sorrow in your mind. There's no regret or remorse in your mind. You know that this is your limit. That's all you can do for your children. And also sometimes we want to help our parents as well. When the parents are growing old, they become like a children. So we're trying to change their behavior, but you cannot change. And you feel very angry and frustrated. That means you have compassion in your mind for your parents, but you try your best. If you cannot change their behavior, you feel very angry. So that means you do not know your limit. You do not have equanimity. Then you have to think that that's all I can do. Right? That's all I can do. So here, according to Buddhism, the definition of compassion is when you see the people who are suffering, that your mind is moved, your mind is shaken. So that means the compassion arises. And you try to help them. You try to help them. So if you cannot help them, stop there. And you just know your limit. You just be mindful. And you just use your wisdom. So that is the last thing I can do for them. Then there's no sorrow. no pity, and no regrets, no remorse. Your mind must be very pure. If your mind is deluded with anger or sorrow, that means your compassion is not pure. The compassion is very pure. You're trying to help them. If you cannot help them, stop there. Then no regret. You know you are safe. You just look at yourself. That's called equanimity. Another one is the Visuddhimagga show another meaning. Compassion attacks suffering of other people. Actually, many people are suffering in terms of physically and mentally, and you're trying to attack those suffering. Suppose poor people, they are suffering with the poverty, you're trying to help them. Some have depression, and you're trying to help them to, to promote or to raise their mind. So that is all that you are attacking suffering of other people. So I think that is the second definition. I think if you understand the first one, more than enough. So if you see the people who are suffering, your mind is moved, your mind is shaken. That is compassion. Because of compassion, you're trying to help them. If you cannot help them, and you stop there. Don't try to harm yourself. That's very important. That is called real compassion in Buddhism. For that reason, self-sacrifice is not encouraged in Buddhism. Then you kill yourself to save others. That's not teachings of the Buddha. That's very important. So, as I earlier said that you are helping, you are rescuing a person in the earthquake area. You know that if you go there, you will die. Then you stop and you do not go there. And you have to know, you have to look at yourself. You have to love yourself. That is a real compassion, right? Real compassion. Cruelty is the direct enemy of karuna. Cruelty is the direct enemy of karuna. Cruelty means you want to harm other people. You want to blame other people. You want to criticize other people. This is cruelty. Because you don't have compassion toward other people. You don't have a pure love to all sentient beings. For that reason, you're trying to kill other people. You're trying to harm other people. You're trying to blame other people. Because cruelty in your mind. So here, the cruelty is direct enemy of compassion. If you have cruelty, there's no compassion in your mind. If there is a compassion in your mind, there is no cruelty, right? So here, I think it's very important to know that cruelty or harming other people. Actually, for that reason, the Buddha said that liberation of the mind by compassion is the escape from the thought of harming. So this is what the Buddha taught in Pali Canon, and the Buddha said that compassion is the escape from the thought of harming. If you have a compassion, there is no the thought of harming other people. But here, harming me, not only killing, not only beating, but also using your verbal expression, blaming, criticizing, using a very cruel word. So these are the thought of harming. In your mind, there is no the thought of harming in your mind. So that means you have compassion. Then sorrow or pity is the indirect enemy of compassion. That's here, I just want to explain here. I will clarify. Huh? Sorrow is indirect enemy of compassion. Your parents is suffering, and you are suffering as well, right? Normally, people suffer when their parents are suffering. When the children are suffering, the parents also suffering. There is not real compassion in Buddhism. Actually, compassion in Buddhism is you have a compassion and pure love in your mind. For that reason, you try to help them. You try to solve their problem. So that is a real compassion in Buddhism. But sometimes when the people are suffering, you have a sorrow in your mind. You have a pity in your mind. You are suffering with them. That is not a real compassion in Buddhism. So for that reason, in some cases, pity or sorrow may appear in the guise of a friend. But it is not a true karuna or compassion in Buddhist way of thinking. I want to share one of the new, maybe about 2010, 9 years ago. So there was a big earthquake in Tibet. There's a big earthquake in Tibet. Many people died. You know, the Dalai Lama is living in India. Dalai Lama, he trying to help them by sending many volunteers and by sending many things, food, accommodation, clothing, etc. By that time, Chinese government also helping them. So one of the journalists asked the question to Dalai Lama, and he asked the question, many people die in Tibet because of earthquake. Now you cannot go to that area. How will you feel? Are you suffering? Are you feel sorry for them? Dalai Lama said that, I don't have any sorrow. I'm not suffering. I'm trying to help them as much as I can. That's all I can do. Not suffering. Even people die in Tibet. He knows that many people die because of earthquake, and he trying to help them. But in his mind, there's no sorrow, no pity, no suffering at all. That is called pure compassion. That is called pure compassion. So pure compassion does not have sorrow, does not have a pity. If you see that people are in trouble, people have a lot of problems, suffering, then you're trying to be there. You're trying to help them. That is real compassion. There's no sorrow in your mind, no pity in your mind. That is the real compassion in Buddhism. Then I will give you a very good example. In front of you, there's a car accident. A young boy was seriously injured in that spot. Then you see that a boy is suffering. A lot of blood spread on the ground. That when you see a young boy is suffering, then your mind is moved. Your mind is shaking. That is compassion. Because of compassion, you go there and trying to help that young guy. That is pure compassion. But sometimes, by helping a young boy, you might blame the driver. Because of the driver, carelessness of the driver, the boy was seriously injured. So that means it's not a pure compassion. Pure compassion is the opposite of cruelty. Now you are criticizing the driver with the thought of harming, right? The thought of harming that driver. And the pity or sorrow may arise in your mind. The pity to that young boy is sorrow to that young boy by seeing a suffering young boy, and you feel sorrow, you feel pity toward that person. It's also not a pure compassion. In a pure compassion, there's no place for sorrow, no pity. There's no pity. Then you have compassion in mind. For that reason, you try to help that young boy. That's all. There's no anger toward the driver. There's no sorrow or pity toward the young boy. You're mindfully trying to help them. That's all. I think it's very important to understand the real meaning of compassion. Then only you'll be able to practice teachings of the Buddha in a correct way. Normally, people mistakenly understand that because they have compassion, for that reason they feel sorry for the people who are suffering. Many people are crying when they see the people are dying. That's not a real compassion. Even though many people are dying because of earthquake, because of flood, your mind is not shaken with the sorrow, no pity, pure compassion, pure love in your mind. Then you try to help them as much as you can. That's all. That is a real compassion. If you are crying, that means no compassion, not real compassion. For that reason here, pity or sorrow may appear in the guise of a friend, but it is not a true karuna in Buddhist way of thinking. I think it's very important. For that reason, we can say that it is a false sympathy. A false sympathy. Such a sympathy is deceitful and lead to anger and sorrow. As I earlier said that, if you see a young boy seriously injured because of car accident, you have anger toward the driver. And you may have a pity or sorrow to see the young boy. That's not a real compassion. Real compassion does not have any anger, any sorrow. You solve the problem calmly. That's real compassion. I think that is very, very subtle point. A very difficult point to take note. Then only you'll be able to practice the real compassion in your life. Then I will conclude my talk. It succeeds. It means compassion succeeds when it makes cruelty subside. So that means we have the thought of harming other people. We have a cruelty in our mind. If you do not have a cruelty toward all sentient beings, that means you have a compassion. So we have to remove the thought of harming other people, physically or mentally and verbally. So that is the art of compassion. And it fades when it gives rise to sorrow. And also, when you see the people who are dying, when you see the people who are suffering because of diseases or because of disaster, if you are crying, that means your compassion is not truth, not true compassion. So the true compassion is when you see the people who are suffering, your mind is moved. Compassion arises. Because of that compassion, you're trying to help them. If you cannot help them, and you stop there, and you understand that, you mindfully understand that that is beyond my reach. Or that's all I can help for them. So that is called equanimity. So compassion, the real compassion does not have any anger, any cruelty, and also it's very important to know that no cry, no sorrow. Even you see people are suffering. When you are taking care of your parents who are suffering in the hospital bed, don't feel sorry. Just pure compassion. Trying to help them. If you cannot help them, and you just look at yourself, you just love yourself. Or that is, don't blame yourself. Blaming yourself means harming yourself. You don't have to blame yourself. Just understand that that's all I can do. Also, to your children, you try your best to educate them, and you try your best to raise them, and you try your best to take care of them, but they do not listen. And do not feel angry. Just understand. That's all I can do. That's called equanimity. For that reason, compassion have to be controlled with the equanimity. Equanimous mind. But here, equanimous mind is nothing but mindfulness and wisdom. You have to be very mindful, and you must have wisdom. So even though people are suffering, you're trying to help them, then you know your limit. So if you know that, that's all you can do, stop there. Don't feel sorrow, don't feel remorse, don't feel happiness. If you are crying, very bad, right? If you have sorrow in your mind, I think it's not pure compassion. So I think it's very important to understand the Buddhist teaching of compassion. So then only you can apply teachings of the Buddha in your daily life. Okay, thank you so much. Any questions?
Metta, Karuna, and Mudita covers everybody, including yourself.
Yeah, you're right.
And equanimity covers only yourself.
Actually, it is not equanimity, look at yourself, that is not directly mentioned in the Pali Canon, because that is my conclusion. My conclusion. Metta, number one, metta or loving kindness cover everyone, outside, inside, other people, and to yourself. Karuna or compassion, look at outside. Not everyone, only those who are suffering. Mudita or altruistic joy, look at outside, but the people who are prosperous, who are successful, who are rich. And equanimity, look at yourself. Then you're trying to help them, but you cannot, there's the time which is beyond your reach. Then you stop and you look at yourself. That's all I can do. Actually, when we explain equanimity, the last one, we use the word sabbe satta kammasaka. All beings are owner of their karma. All beings are owner of their karma. They are suffering because of their karma. But you do not neglect them, and you're trying to help them. So if you cannot help them, then you reflect. You are mindfulness and wisdom. They are owner of their karma. I cannot help them. So that means you look at yourself. Okay. Thank you.
Hi Bhante, I've got 2 questions. Why is sorrow so bad? Like it will fail compassion. And number 2 is...
Why is sorrow so bad?
Yeah,
right?
correct. So I'm not too sure. So it will be helpful if you can explain a bit deeper. Then the other thing is, if you say we control with equanimity and we stop when we think that we cannot help further, but that can be quite subjective.
Sorry.
Like how much you can help before you can stop. So
Equanimity, right?
yeah. So how do we know how much we can do in order to be enough and to stop? I think that's probably the wisdom part, but how do we control that?
Okay, very good question. The first one is, is sorrow very bad? Of course, sorrow is better than crying. If you cry that your mother is going to die because of a serious diseases, crying is very bad. You suffer. And if you know that your parents, your beloved one, is going to die because of serious diseases, you sorrow in your mind. You suffer. It's bad, right? It's bad. So that means here, equanimity come in. You have to look at yourself whether you can cure the diseases. If you have many, of course you can treat your parents to cure the diseases. But there is the time. Sometimes we cannot afford. We cannot afford to cure that serious diseases. And we have to know our limit. You try your best for your parents. If you don't have money to cure, then you have to practice equanimity. Equanimity is mindfulness and wisdom. Mindfulness here means you have to be very mindful. You look at the situation objectively. I don't have any money to cure my parents. That is the truth, right? That is the truth. I'm trying my very best for my parents. That is compassion. But you don't have any money to continue to cure, to give treatment to your parents. Then you have to look at yourself. Oh, that's all I can do. All beings are owner of their karma. No sorrow, no remorse, no regret. You try your best. That's compassion. But if you cannot do more, stop there. Evaluate mindfully and use your wisdom. So that's all I can do for my parents. No sorrow, no crying, no pity. Just pure compassion.
Sorry, can I just add? So,
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Okay, is there a difference between sad and sorrow? Like, because I thought like if it's to be equanimity, that means we'll have no feelings in any negative situation.
Sorry?
So we shouldn't have any negative feelings in any, bad situation, like when you're facing death.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's not even like there's a difference between, so I can feel sad but not sorrow.
No, cannot.
So it's totally like we shouldn't feel anything negative.
So sorry, I don't know the degree or the English usage, but I use the word soka. Soka means very bad in your mind. even small or big, you don't have it. Pity, a little bit small, right? Sorrow, small. Lamentation, very big. Crying, very bad. Even the slightest degree of negative emotion in your mind. If those negative emotions in your mind, not pure compassion, not pure love, according to Buddhism. Actually, in Abhidhamma, compassion, altruistic joy, loving kindness, equanimity, all these are a part of beautiful mind. In the beautiful mind, there is no unwholesome consciousness. So that means when we want to say pure compassion, pure love, altruistic joy or equanimity, there is no negative mind, even sorrow, even pity.
Okay, I want to add on to my second question about how much is enough. So, for example, you give the example of money. I think money is easier because you can quantify it. But if
So money easy?
Yeah, it's an easier example. But if, for example, we're talking about time, so if they think that you didn't spend enough time with your parents, for example, so I think 5 hours is a lot. But to them, they think you need to spend 10 hours, or to some people around you. So that is where I say, like, how much is enough?
Oh, how much is enough? It depends on, I think, situation, right? If you can spare your time for your parents, maybe about 1 hour a week, you have to think yourself. It depends. Sometimes you forget to look at your parents, right? You totally forget to go back home to look at your parents. And then it depends on situation. For me, I have only, my mother died last year. I have only one father. Occasionally I call to my father. That means compassion. So I'm trying to call my father, given the time. But sometimes, of course, sometimes forgot to call. So that means I need to develop compassion and love. But if I'm calling many times, that's not a pure love. That's not a pure compassion. Because attachment come in. Not pure love. So I want my father feel very happy. That is pure compassion. Then I have a sorrow, and also I have a pity to my father. For that reason, I call. That's not a pure compassion as well. Pure compassion and pure love does not have any attachment, any sorrow, any crying. Just trying to help them. Sorry? Yes? Yeah. Yeah.
Would you consider that as a compassion or a non-compassion?
Can you repeat, because we are taking the video? for recording. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry. If I miss, right? I think if we use the word miss, that means a little degree of sadness, right? Some kind of negative feeling in your mind. If I use the word miss, as far as I understand English, right? Normally, if I miss somebody, so that means negative feeling in my mind. If I remember my father. For that reason, I call pure love. But of course, regarding with the parents or children, very difficult to differentiate pure love and attachment. So, but here, if I miss my father, then I have a sorrow in my mind, negative feeling in my mind. That's not real compassion. I just remember my father. My father was very happy to talk to his son. Then I call. He's very happy. That's pure compassion. As I earlier said that if I have too much attachment to my father or to my family member, then I call very often. That's not pure compassion, not pure love. So here, compassion look at others, not oneself. I look at my father. So if I do not call my father, he will miss. Then because of that, I call. I just look at my father. Okay, question.
I have a question. Hi, I have a question here. Just now you mentioned that we must know our limit. We must know our limit, do our best to help. Once we recognize our limit, we should stop there. And if the person, parent, family member, they suffer, we have to acknowledge that that is their karma. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
So by doing that, no attachment, no feeling, in return, my family member said I'm cold.
Yeah.
Is that my karma then?
Don't worry,
Yeah.
don't worry. They do not understand. They will the real teachings of the Buddha.
So how should we handle that? Surroundings view that we are cold, no feeling. So how should we handle that in that sense?
It's actually equanimity is not a core feeling. I will give you the same example. Your parents, just example, huh? Just example, sorry. Your parents is gravely ill. Then by seeing a suffering parents, your mind is moved. Your mind is shaking. That's compassion. But by looking at your parents who is suffering, you want to cry. You feel sorry. You feel pity toward your parents. That's not real compassion. The real compassion look at outside. So when you look at outside, your mind is very pure. You just want to release their suffering. For that reason, you bring your parents to the hospital and you let him get treatment from the doctor. Then you spend your money, but your money is not enough. You have to borrow money from other people. But you will get a very big into trouble because of borrowing money. Then you have to decide. If you can pay back the money, okay, just borrow. If you cannot pay back, and your life will be miserable because of borrowing money, then you have to decide mindfully. That is, I can do. That's all I can do. Then, if you cannot cure your parents, then your parent will die. Even they die, you don't have any negative feeling in your mind. You don't have a remorse in your mind. You just purely acknowledge. That's all I can do. People are honor their own karma. Actually, my parents, their karma, they are destined to live only that much. So you have to understand. You have to use your mindfulness and wisdom. And very, very hard. Actually, it's very hard. For that reason, Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist teaching is now getting famous in the West. In the West, among the educated people, especially educated people. So the reason is a very settled point, right? Very settled. People might think that if your parents die, you have to cry, right? If you do not cry, that means you do not love your parents. People naturally think in such a way. According to Buddhism, it's not right attitude. No cry at all. No cry. Your mind must be very pure. You do what you can do. You do what you can do. That's very, very important. Maybe I will give you my own example. I think it will be quite clear, I think. So my mother died last year in April. So my sister called me crying. My mother died. By that time, I'm mindful. My mind is very calm. So I just asked the information, how he died, where he is now. So they told me everything. I listened very mindfully. Then I told them what to do for the funeral, for the wake. By that time, my mind is very mindful. Then I just told my sisters, so my mother destined to live only that much. So we have to accept it. Then nighttime, when I was attending puja, during the puja, tear automatically came down because I lost my mindfulness. The reason is, by that time, I remember childhood memory. So when I come back from school, when I do not see my mother, my mind became empty. So the first thing I asked, where is my mother? So I remember the incident that my mindfulness lost. Tear automatically came down because of no mindfulness, not real compassion. Then when I go back to my mother wake or funeral, no cry, no sadness in my mind, just pure mindfulness. So of course, family members are crying, but I'm not pretending. But as I'm very mindful, as I accept the nature of impermanence, then no crying, no sorrow, just do what I can do. That is a real compassion, equanimity, no sorrow. But people are, as soon as I go into my house, people are looking at me, how I will react. They might be thinking I will cry. No crying. Because mindfulness is very aware and very mindful, then I accept the nature of impermanence. So here, the same way, so if we see our family member, our children are suffering, having a lot of problem, no sorrow, no remorse, just be mindful. If you can help them, just help them. If you cannot, look at yourself. Don't harm yourself. If you're crying, if you have sorrow and pity, you are harming yourself. That's not good. As I earlier said that in the Minnesota, when the Buddha taught what is good and what is not good, when the Buddha taught kusala, wholesome deed, and good deed, 3 criteria. It shouldn't harm other people. It shouldn't harm yourself. It shouldn't harm both. Then only we can call it a good deed or wholesome deed. Okay. Question? Okay. Can you use microphone, please? Please.
Suppose I know of a child, a boy or a girl, who is bluffing his parents that he is studying very hard. Actually, he has dropped out from the school and never go to school. But every day he's playing around and saying that he is studying in a university. Right? The parents, we are very happy that he's in the university and he is giving money all the time. So the mother and father were so proud that my kid is in the university. And let's assume that I know of the case. So the parents are happy. They are not suffering. But to me, I think they might be suffering. How do I react in this case?
You mean as a son, right?
Because I feel compassion for the parents. So I feel sorry for them. And what do I do?
You mean as a son, right?
Sorry?
As a son, you are supporting your parents?
No, I'm not a parent. I know that the kid is bluffing the parents.
Sorry?
The
kids?
kid, the child, supposed to be studying, but he's not studying. He's actually fooling around and getting money from the parents.
Mm.
So I cannot tell the parents because the parents are very happy.
Oh,
Everybody
that means the kid is lying.
Yes, he's
Okay.
lying. And the parents are happy.
Yeah.
But I feel that the day will come when they will suffer.
Oh, so?
I know of it. So what do I do?
Or what you should do, right? I think you have a compassion to the parents, right?
Yes.
Why not you go and tell them? If I were you.
They're happy. They are all very happy.
No. Here, happy me. They do not know the true story.
Yes.
For that reason, they may be happy for temporary. But you have to look at long term. So I think as I were you, I will go and tell them, your son is telling lie. I think it's not how to say, they are happy me. Of course, they will be happy for temporarily. So I think we have to look at long term, right? If I were you, I will go and tell them, so your son is not studying, you're telling lie. Then they will trying to change their son. In the long run, they'll be very happy. Okay, question, the last question.
Any more question?
Any more question? Okay, so I didn't know quite. Okay, then the last question.
Not really a question, Bhante, but just thinking about a scenario. Now, suppose I am, let's say I'm walking past a swimming pool and I see a child fall into the pool. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is that this child may drown. I am better go and save the kid. Compassion?
Yeah, you're right, compassion.
Yeah. Then I realize I'm not trained to be a lifesaver. I might drown myself. So I don't jump into the pool. I go and look for the lifeguard.
Yeah.
Then after a long search, I brought the lifeguard. But by the time the lifeguard arrives, the child has died, drowned.
Yeah.
Then I will feel so angry with myself. Then no more compassion.
That's I think, very good scenario.
Because
Very good scenario.
I mean, realizing that I'm not trained in life-saving, I don't jump in the pool. So that's upeka. I know my limitations. So that's equanimity.
Yeah, it's good choice.
Okay.
Good.
So when I go and call a lifeguard, and the lifeguard comes, but maybe a bit too late.
A bit too late.
So too late to save the child.
Yeah.
Then I have a lot of regret. Or maybe anger. That, why aren't you there? You are a lifeguard. You know, you should have been there.
I think later part is not real compassion, not true compassion.
It's not compassion
But earlier-
anymore, correct?
I think very good scenario
so when,
here.
when I have anger at the end or regret,
Mm.
then there's no more compassion. Nullify the compassion.
A very good scenario. I think I will conclude my talk by explaining that scenario. A young child thrown in the swimming pool, right? That you know that he will die if nobody rescued that young boy. But you want to help that young guy, but you're not trained. You cannot swim. If you go and rescue that young boy, both of them die. So that means not real compassion. Then as she earlier said that she know her limit. Then she know that if she go there, she will die, and she cannot rescue a young boy. For that reason, she decided to go and call safe. Huh? Find out, right? Lifeguard me. Or the person who was safe, right? So she decided to find out a lifeguard. So then to save the young boy. But as soon as the safeguard arrives, the young boy already died. So here is the wisdom and mindfulness came in. Here is equanimity came in. You try your best, but you couldn't. Then you look at yourself. That's all I can do. No remorse, no sorrow, no pity, no anger as well. Then only your compassion will be very pure. Otherwise, your compassion will be tainted with the anger or sorrow or pity. That's very important. You try your best, but you couldn't help that young guy. Equanimity, people are owner of their own karma. That is his karma. You cannot help that young guy, right? That is equanimity. And so compassion have to control with the equanimity. Otherwise, it will lead to anger or sorrow. Thank you so much. So we will close our Dhamma Talk right now. Then before we close our Dhamma Talk, we will share our merit. Any announcement? Okay.
Okay, just some announcement. For those who are attending the Monday class, the following 2 Mondays, 4th and 11th of February, will be closed for Chinese New Year. Class will resume on 18th of February, and the topic for that day is the Four Noble Truths. And there will be another Dhamma Talk on the 25th of February, right? The importance of learning the Dhamma and meditation. The speaker is Bhante Tara, the chief resident monk of Mangala Vihara. Same time, same place. Right? So we do the transfer.